February 4th. I knew this was going to be a special month, year. Anyway, today Animal Collective, one of the greatest bands ever, released a new record. And I got to listen to it. I just streamed it twice. And now I'm going to review it. Usually I review 2 albums, but if Animal Collective comes out with a record, if Ween comes out with a record, you're getting a day of. Because I'm obsessed. Sorry. I got my Blacklight poster here. I try to get a poster and a shirt of every band that I truly love. So I have both of those. Give you my bona fides. This album is exceptional. It's heavenly. It's superlative. It's a fantastic record start to finish. If I had to describe what this album sounds like, it's a more graceful Flaming Lips with a choir rather than a Wayne. You have like a choir of whatever. There's like 3-part harmonies on this a lot. Deacon sings a lot. I think there's a lot where Deacon, Panda, and Avi are singing all at once in harmony. There's prominent vibraphone. It reminds me a lot of Zelda Wave because the synth effects on all the keyboards are turned up to JRPG level. So you hear that right away on Dragon Slayer, the opener. Funky melodic groove, great. This album sounds a lot like Applesauce. If you know the song Applesauce from Centipede Hurts, the way that methodically moves through sections and sounds like a prog song, this sounds like a prog folk kind of jammy album. It's very melodic. They're finishing like a reverse Beefheart, I think, that they started with Here Comes the Indian, Campfire songs. It's like, and then Merriweather was kind of their halfway. It's like now they feel like they've fully embraced just being straightforwardly talking about how they feel about stuff and being optimistic, which I think is needed in this world. I think the world was a brighter place when Animal Collective needed to be darker, and they supplied that darkness on Centipede Hurts. This album sonically is Centipede Hurts, but there's no electronic breakdown kind of craziness on the level of a Newtown Burnout, or screaming and kind of dark, confusing lyrics in the way of a Monkey Riches. I like the album Centipede Hurts a lot. I like all their albums and all their EPs. They're one of my favorite groups. I think this album stands neatly in their catalog as one of their great statements. It's a perfect 10 record. I'll review the songs. Dragon Slayer. Great funky melodic groove right away. And it goes into a bridge. It's pretty and simple that it goes into these bridges and into these the space sections aren't what you expect from an Animal Collective space, where it's kind of a dark space with electronic noise kind of going on and atonal stuff, or the screaming vocal. Like, all of that is absent. This is like a very clean representation of them, which I imagine will be polarizing to Animal Collective fans, because some people will probably perceive this the same way some people perceived this album, as some form of like them getting boring, them kind of losing their creativity. I actually thought on their last record, Painting With, they sounded kind of like that a bit, like they didn't know exactly where to go. There were some moments that I love on that record. I like Kind of Bonkers a lot. I like the soul cover that they did, Jimmy something. Anyway, there's some good material on that record. I don't think it's their best record. I think this is a better record than Painting With. I think this is a better record than Centipede Hurts. I think this is the best record that they've released since this record. Yeah, so Dragon Slayer seamlessly segues into Car Keys, which I believe is Deacon sung to my ear. After the first verse, it hits a bridge, and then I like this organ that comes in and Panda with these vocal harmonies. Panda has this angelic choir voice. That's one of my favorite elements of the band. Then there's this weird clattering, metallic, chimey percussion. There's a lot of this theme. And then there's lots of vibraphone. Tons of vibes on this record. Like, vibes. No, literal vibes. They're playing vibraphone. Like an actual vibraphone. There's actually vibes on almost every song on this record. And the percussion stuff they do is not the, like, bongo, electronic blip. It's always physical things, like cymbals. Like, he sounds like he's playing a trap kit. This sounds more like a rock band than we're used to with Animal Collective. It still has that communal feel, though. It still has that playfulness and camaraderie that I love in their music. It's just light. It's just they're operating on a more optimistic, graceful place where they don't need to go that far out. They don't need to say the most crazy thing they can say. They're more comfortable in their skin. This is a very reassuring record to hear for an Animal Collective fan, I think. Because the last couple years have been rough. And I kind of feel like I need this album. And ta-da! This morning, I have it. It's amazing. It's a great album. Car Keys. Again, they go into this breakdown. I like this space they're exploring in this breakdown when it gets chimey and percussion-y. And then the vocal effects come in, but there's very subtle vocal effects. It's sort of that, like, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo-doo in the background, almost as a percussion instrument, rather than having much melodic. It's just charmingly simple. Both of these songs are charmingly simple. In terms of ranking Animal Collective records, this, I think, is... it's too early. I'm sorry. I've only had 2 listens to this record. But anyway, Prester John follows Car Keys. This was a song they released early, so I already know about this song. And I love this song. Prester John is one of the prettiest just pop songs that they've ever created. It's the grooviest. Like, it has a good bass line. I can't think of a single Animal Collective song, and I've listened to every EP and every LP, and every single I could find, and a lot of live stuff, that has just a groovy bass line played on an electric bass. This has a great bass line. They rarely have remarkable rhythm section in their records. They kind of reduce that to a more primitive thing, ordinarily. On this record, the whole thing grooves. The whole thing has, like, a solid trap set beat underneath it, pretty much, and an actual rhythm section. Like, there's bass, there's guitars playing tunefully, not drony, trying to deconstruct everything, trying to scream, trying to melt everything. Again, it reminds me of the Flaming Lips. It reminds me of sort of more straightforward psychedelic prog bands, more straightforward folk. And it's amazing to hear this from them, because we know that they're capable of going into these experimental rabbit holes. And this is the opposite of that. Bridge to Quiet, you want to listen to the last thing they put out, they still go into crazy experimental rabbit holes. That album is insane. Like, very few people probably care very much about that album, but they can still do that. The point is they don't want to do that right now. Or maybe what the world needs now is love, sweet love. It's the only thing. There's just too little of. Prester John, amazing. It's like a classic song. It doesn't even sound like an Animal Collective song. Strung with Everything sounds almost like a Fish song. It's like the most jam bandy thing I've heard them play. It starts with kind of space, and then like percussion in space. And and then it turns into this sweet melody with this AV coming in, interrupting the kind of chorus, and this calm response between AV and the chorus, and then there's like a little drum beat break when they do this transition, and the refrain reminds me of like a Beatles song or a Beach Boys song. It's just like classic melodic pop. It's fantastic. It's got the surf Vampire Weekend chords. It's a very pretty song from a band that usually juxtaposes ugliness and prettiness, and the ugliness is pretty pronounced. This is kind of a shockingly clean record. Walker, again, one of the most straightforwardly rock pop Panda melody songs ever. Like, Panda usually goes way out there, goes down weird things, especially in his solo material. This song is just, it's like, oh, Panda's just writing a nice pop ditty. It's great. The vibes are great. That Final Fantasy organ, the percussion, that's actual drums, that's an actual trap kit, that's not just, whatever. Like, that's percussion on a typical Animal Collective record. They actually sound like they have a rhythm section here. Pirate Love is a great mid-tempo boogie. I love this song. You could dance to this whole record. There's nothing on here that you couldn't play for a normal person. It's kind of weird how not weird this record is. It is shocking how unshocking this record is. There's great soloing in Pirate Love and a cool breakdown groove. It's great. Cherokee is great too. Cherokee, lyrically, I think describes the best what I'm talking about. I have to, from ear, do the lyrics, so I might be off, but out there in the Black Mountain sprouts education sea, but you can learn a lot, just take a walk above my tree. They gather around the easel and spell community. I've been waiting years for my teacher, but wonder what that means. There's lots of lonely roadblocks as language disappears, and people on the subway think so far to be so near. I smile from a screen you touch, waiting on the bed, listening to the voices telling me where I'm heading. People head out for a while in the hills, a color wheel. In the hills, a color wheel. So he's encouraging you to go outside. He's telling you, disconnect from technology. There's going to be lots of lonely Robloxes, I think is the actual lyric, which is hilarious. I've been waiting for my teacher, but wonder what that means. Just the humility and maturity on this record is remarkable. Then this bridge starts, again, prominent vibraphone. And it's dancey. And there's vocal harmonies and synth lines, and it builds to a shuffle with a repeating chorus call and response thing. Passerby sounds like it's going to be the first dark song on the record when I heard it. I was like, okay, there's going to be a dark ballad. He's going to be mad. There's going to be vomit and blood and vocal. No! Passerby is a love song. It has some like minor chords, but thinking about your smile, I miss the passerby. It's a love. This album is all love. If you dislike love, I don't know what you like. We Go Back is great. It's a short, kind of groovy jam, which they rarely play. I forgot to do everything. This album is cleaning my brain. This is like a cure. It's not like The Cure. The Cure is actually very depressing. It's like a cure for people who listen to experimental dark music to hear, you don't have to be dark. You can be pretty. You can sing in a chorus. Royal and Desire, I adore this closer. I think Deacon sings the lead vocal. Doesn't sound like Avi to me. And it's a great ballad that moves through these different sections. These are like prog songs. These are like jam band songs. People who dislike progressive rock and jam bands, they're probably not going to like this, but they probably hated applesauce. Anyway, uh, those are the songs on the record. Yeah, there's not that many songs. It's not that long a record. Strung with everything. I think I talked about everything. Yeah, that's the record. We're at 15 minutes, so I was already supposed to be done. I don't know. What's